Hello, it's Deep Focus. I'm your host, Mitch Goldman. Today's program recorded April 28th, 2014. Monday night, Adam Rudolph in the studio with me talking about the Art Ensemble of Chicago. If you don't know Adam Rudolph's work as a hand drummer and bandleader and composer and musical thinker, well, I hope this program's made you a fan, and I strongly suggest check out his work. He's a vital force, New York-based, and you can find his recordings. Hopefully he's coming soon to a venue near you, and you don't want to miss the opportunity to hear his music. So check out Adam Rudolph and enjoy the program. Part 3. You are listening to a live recording of the Art Ensemble of Chicago. This one made in Athens, Georgia in April of 1979, 35 years ago this Wednesday.
Wow.
And we call this show Deep Focus. I'm Mitch Goldman. Adam Rudolph's our guest, and our focus is on the Art Ensemble of Chicago, Lester Bowie, Roscoe Mitchell, Joseph Jarman, Malachi Favors, Don Moye. And speaking very much to what you were saying earlier, Adam, about the taking that step back to choose the roles, very different roles in this set than the previous set that we heard. And especially I loved that texture that they were in right there when we jumped in. It's hard to find a place to, I hate to interrupt the music, but we got to do our show, man.
This is pretty good for long form radio, which doesn't exist much in the world anymore.
Speaking of, we're creating our own composition over a span of hours.
Absolutely, form, man, form. Yeah.
But maybe you want to talk about that a little bit. What we were hearing.
Well, it's so fascinating to me about it is this idea of actually thinking about the form. I mean, the long form, the whole evening as a form, where it's like, maybe previously people were playing sets of, tunes, right? And then Coltrane, then these extended on a piece of music. But this idea of sort of the entire evening being some a composition, actually of designing the form, of thinking about it, of the pauses, of these kinds of things is really amazing. Yusuf Lateef used to say to me, he said, when you get rid of one thing, you have to replace it with something else. So what he was talking about in that context was that for years there had been this idea of the musicians using, I guess, what we call the Tin Pan Alley forms, blues forms, 32-bar, 12-bar, and extensions of those, using harmonic motion, contrafactum or secondary dominance to generate the form of the music, playing tunes. And, of course, Sun Ra, Cecil Taylor, Ornette, Eric Dolphy, so on, everybody opened up into something else. So then what else is that something going to be? And I feel that what we did, and I guess I feel like part of it in some way, but what happened in the Midwest, especially Chicago and St. Louis, was really different than when things opened up in New York. It was another kind of way of doing things, and it very much had to do with this idea of orchestrating the music, of playing in a sense of character, this really deep involvement in working with artists of other painters, sculptors, all dancers. And one of my first exposures to this was, you asked me, about my high school experience. So, like I said, I went to the University of Chicago Laboratory School, and my music teacher, Roberta Newman, was friends with Leroy Jenkins. So I remember Hall brought a sextet in, and we used to go hear them on Sunday afternoons. There was a Sunday afternoon AACM series, but this is when the musicians would come in and perform at our school. But one time she brought, we had a workshop in our, so I don't know, I'm 13, 14, something like 15 maybe, and in music, high school music class. So Joseph Jarman and Lester Lashley, and Lester Lashley's wife, I don't know if you know Lester, was one of the great AACM musicians. And I think who was the other? Lester's wife, who was a dancer, and I think maybe it was Douglas was with him. He'd been young then, but Douglas Ewart. Anyway, so we come into our high school, it's like high school music class, right? And they've set up their instruments all over the room. They start playing. They have slides. There's some kind of slide images of, I don't even remember what, but like 2 slide projectors going. Joseph Jarman had brought a pile of lunch bags. I mean, this was back in the day we had brown bag,
Sure.
sack of lunch. Okay.
Yeah.
So he had a bunch of them, and they had us cut out. He gave one to each person and cut out holes for eyes, and then every kid in this 30 kids in this classroom, we all put these bags over our heads with these eyes cut out. And so they start performing, and then I think it was Diane, what's her name? Anyway, I think it was Lester Lashley's wife, started dancing, leading us around the room. So here we are in music class, like dancing around the room with these paper bags on our heads with these holes cut in them, while Joseph is, and these slides are going, and Joseph is playing, and his face is painting. And that was like afternoon music class as a sophomore in high school. So obviously I remember it. It was something you don't, you certainly don't forget. Leroy came in and did some workshops, and everybody, and it was, like I said, this was along with sort of the blues musicians who lived nearby, Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters, Otis Spann. There was like, now I look back on it, I think, what an amazing time and place. But then it was just sort of, like every kid that grows up, this is just sort of what's happening,
It's my neighborhood.
It's my neighborhood, yeah, right. And this is what's going on, and it's great and wonderful. And so it was really amazing thing, though, to then just a few years later be able to actually start playing and participating in the music myself, because then by the time I was 16, there was a guy named Malawi Nerudin, and most people do not know about Malawi Nerudin, but if you ask Roscoe Mitchell or Hall about who he is, they will tell you what a great saxophonist he was and composer. He was a contemporary of Fred Anderson's, and like Fred, really had kind of a foot in the, as we were saying before, the great Chicago tenor tradition of Gene Ammons, Johnny Griffin, and so on, and then sort of, and of course Sonny Rollins' influence, and then the modern music. So I started playing with Malawi and made my first record with him when I was 17, and then met Fred through Hamid, and started playing with Fred Anderson around that time also. And the beautiful thing about both of those guys, and by the way, Billy Brimfield, the trumpet player, was playing with both of them, who was, Lester always said, was one of his favorite trumpet players, was that they were so generous about it, and just like if you were sincere and interested and serious, it's like, come on, and so that's how that so that unfolded. So only a couple of years after sort of hearing the Art Ensemble and hearing these musicians, being able to sort of participate in that and start learning about how to play myself, so that was really great. And the other thing I just wanted to say about the art ensemble that I think that really had an impact on me and my thinking was that they were really a group, And nowadays there's a lot of, I guess you can call them projects, but it's very difficult, of course, to maintain a group. There's the fortunate few get to work a lot and have a group, but the real group and the thing is
they're a group like you almost expect them when they're not on stage to like wear like team jackets or something. They're like like a gang. They're they even had a motto. Right? Great Black Music.
Oh, Ancient to the Future. Yeah, right.
How many music groups, bands have a motto?
Right. Well, they had a vision. I mean, the thing about them as a group and, meeting John Jackson and getting to know Moye and talking about the business, I mean, they had a vision about what they were doing, and this goes back to this whole idea of self-determination. For me, it was really reinforced more because I was more involved with the self-determination movement when I was in Detroit with the Strata musicians, who I was working with, Charles Moore and Kenny Cox, and then we were talking about John Sinclair earlier. But that idea of self-determination and the idea of the vision of what you're doing being a sense of community that's beyond just like a bunch of cats getting together and play. It's like, well, produce your own concerts, release your own recordings, all these kinds of things. Maybe produce other people's concerts. This is sort of say of doing for yourself was really
and doing for one another
and doing for one another
community.
Yeah, exactly. And I, back to not to, but I have to say this Go Organic Orchestra. In our way of doing it, how we can do it in the here and now that's what it's really about. Like I said, these 40-some musicians. Most of them have been working with me now since 2005, and it's not like we're running around the world raking in. I know they're not there for the money.
Yeah.
So, but that's beautiful in a way because I know they're there for the love and the fascination of what we're doing. And I know the Art Ensemble, long before they became really known, I know they spent hours and hours developing together, working together. So the thing is, it's always been, if you think about the history of you want to call it great black music or improvised music, so-called jazz, it's actually always been groups who have transformed the music. I mean, it's been presented because of how the media and how people like to look at and sell things. So they're like, oh, it's Ornette Coleman, and of course Ornette was the visionary, but it was that group when they showed up here already having developed what they did on the West Coast. Don, Ornette, Blackwell, or Billy Higgins, and Charlie Hayden, Scott LaFaro. It was a group, and they had a sound of the group itself. The other classic example, of course, everybody knows about Coltrane's quartet. Coltrane's the figurehead, but there couldn't have been Coltrane without Elvin Jones and McCoy and Jimmy Garrison, and it was really, if you look at it from a non-Western artistic hero media point of view, it's about those four people and that idea of that entity. Miles's quintet, of course, and more than one, but of course the one that we love. And so when we were talking earlier about Herbie Hancock's sextet at that time, that incredible group, McCoy-Tyner quartet at that time, and the Weather Report at that early time. But he had and I'm leaving out a lot, Mahavishnu Orchestra, whatever. There were groups.
Yes.
And the Art Ensemble is right in the middle of that because it wasn't just these five people. It was a group, and it was the synergy and the magic and some kind of mysticism that we could talk about the elements that were going on, but there was something there that happened that, like we said earlier, it ultimately ended up in the magic.
Yes.
Of what was going on. That's what Don always talked about, the magic. He says, "Man, that's what Don Cherry. That's what we're reaching for."
Yes.
Know? And so that to me, that's the sort of the crux of the inspiration of what you get. What I talked about when you move from the what to the how to the why, and the why is really about the mysticism of it. And that's where this other element, we're talking about groups, but this other aspect of it, which is the music being an oral tradition. And I mean, now it's moved into schools and something else is happening. And of course, some of those masters are teaching in the schools. But my experience of the oral tradition, starting with Malawi and Fred Anderson, and then I would say Don Cherry and then Yusuf Lateef, my mentors, the most important things I learned from them are not even things that can be put into words. It has to do with a creative attitude, you know. And again, the Art Ensemble are the ones who really cracked open that idea of what possibilities, what can be possible, you know, and freedom, and if you imagination, again, if you can imagine it and think about something to do. And that's what technique exists for, to serve the being able to do something that you can imagine to do, and then having the courage to pursue it. And like I said, when we look back at the history of it, we think this music was inevitable. But I know for a fact that it took and still takes courage and perseverance to pursue your vision that is not always not everybody's on that bandwagon before, you know.
Yeah.
It's
too true. We've been here since 6 p.m., coming up on 3 hours of fantastic music and insights from Adam Rudolph. We call this show Deep Focus, and our focus has been on the Art Ensemble of Chicago. Had some fantastic music I hope you got a chance to enjoy. And Adam, you opened some new windows for me, and I'm sure for the listeners as well tonight.
Same here.
We are WKCR FM. Let me remind everybody that starting at midnight tonight, so just 3 hours and change, begins the birthday anniversary of Edward Kennedy Duke Ellington.
Wow. Okay.
And we will be playing nothing but his music for at least 24 hours, starting at midnight tonight.
Wonderful.
So be along for that. And we've got just a few minutes left before we hand things over to the news department. We should end with a little bit more of this music, I think. And I want to remind everybody, once again, Go Organic Orchestra playing 2 weeks from tonight at Shapeshifter in Brooklyn, 18 Whitwell Place in Park Slope. Monday, May 18th, 7 o'clock is a workshop, 8 o'clock is a performance, and it's a stunning array of immensely talented musicians. This is something not to miss, and it will be your experience to live this thing that we've been yammering about. You will actually be of it. Mm-hmm. So don't miss your chance to do that, or just go out and hear some great live music somewhere near you tonight. Go and, by all means, this music we've been playing tonight you will not find in your local Sam Goody record store, which don't exist anymore. You won't find them on your iTunes, but you will find other equally marvelous recordings of the Art Ensemble of Chicago and all these fantastic musicians Adam and I have been talking about tonight, and you should absolutely do that. But it's really all about getting out and being with this music live. Live
music is best. That was all the AACM concerts. That's what everybody always said at the beginning. Live music is best. You know, support live music. There's nothing like it. It's changes. It's life transforming.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. We're going back to Athens, GA, April 1979. The Art Ensemble of Chicago, Lester Bowie, Roscoe Mitchell, Joseph Jarman, Malachi Favors, Famdou Donmoye on WKCR. Mitch Goldman. Good night.